The old coot here, coming back at you with another exciting video. Today I'm making octopus, and I'm going to make it the way I learned how to do it, with just a little bit of a spin. I'm going to add some paprika to mine, just because I like that little smokiness, and it makes people wonder like how exactly that smokiness got in there. If we boiled it, you kind of get the idea. So octopus, what are the secrets that like I learned? The first one, most important one, is vinegar. Vinegar, red wine vinegar especially, is one of the biggest secrets. What this does is this goes into the fibers and helps to break the octopus fibers down so that you get a more chewable octopus versus chewy octopus, right? You want your octopus to be tender. You want it almost to chew in your mouth the same way that like a good aged ribeye steak would chew, right? It's got to be tender. It's got to melt like butter in your mouth. And one of the secrets is to use red wine vinegar, and that's what helps to break down those fibers. Okay, another secret, right? It's a lot of science plus a lot of technique, and it's the combination of the two together that makes like the perfect octopus. Okay, the other secret is 1 bay leaf per octopus. So can you guess how many octopus I'm making today? I'm making two octopi. Okay, so 1 bay leaf per octopus. What that helps do is, again, there's an essential oil in the bay leaf that helps to break down those fibers. It also adds a little bit of a broader flavor. It spectrumizes. Yes, I'm turning a word into a verb, but basically it adds spectrum of flavor and broadness to the octopus, where you're not just tasting like the ocean, you're tasting like subtle little nuances within the octopus. So 1 bay leaf per octopus. Okay, another huge secret is the whole water boiling thing. Please do not, from this point forward, tell your friends, share this video. Please, from this point forward, don't ever bring your water to a boil and then drop your octopus in. That is a recipe for disaster. What's going to happen is that's a guaranteed way of turning your octopus into shoe leather. What you want to do, the right way to do it, or at least the way that I do it, is wash and clean your octopus, which we're going to do here in a minute. Put it in your pot. Put all of your spices in. We'll go over all these in a minute. Put all your spices in. Fill up the pot so it just barely touches the top of the octopus, right? And then cover it and bring it up to a simmer. So medium heat, not high heat, just medium heat. When it starts to simmer, lower the heat even more. So like you're between medium and low, and just let it simmer. It's okay if there's a small little boil going on, but you do not want a hard rolling boil. Hard, that's the analogy. Hard rolling boil equals hard octopus. Softer boil, softer octopus. Actually, a simmer is even better, but let's get into that in a minute. Okay, let's talk about the rest of the spices here. So the red wine vinegar is going to help to tenderize the octopus. I put about a tablespoon in. If you're doing one octopus, put a half of a tablespoon in. Lemon, I put a whole lemon in. Whether you're doing one octopus or two, 1 lemon should be enough. If you're going to be doing like 4 or 5 octopus, obviously double the lemon, maybe use 2 lemons or 3 lemons. But what you want to do is you want to zest them, which I've done here. I've zested them. Then I've gone ahead and squozen them, pulled the seeds out, and then what I'm left with is the pulp and the actual juice itself, right? With me so far? Okay. Remember, 2 bay leaves, right? 1 bay leaf per octopus. That helps to tenderize it. It helps to give some flavor. It helps to give the octopus a broad spectrum of flavors. What I've got here is thyme. There's I would say about 1/8 of a teaspoon of thyme there. You could use more, you could use less. It just kind of gives the octopus like this nice, broad, kind of woodsy, piney kind of a note. And it helps also tenderize as well. Red pepper flake, don't need to put it in if you don't want it. I like my octopus to have a little bit of a kick to it. There's about 10 little flakes and seeds there. Black pepper, so there's about 8 peppercorns here, whole peppercorns. The red pepper hits your tongue in a different place than the black does, so that's why I use both. Okay, the whole salt thing, should it be as salty as the ocean? In most cases, no. What I do is for 2 octopus, I usually put in about 1 tablespoon of salt. Iodized salt, sea salt, red Himalayan pink salt, whatever. To me, it honestly makes no difference, but I use this one because the Himalayan pink salt has like just those little bit of extra minerals. Similar to sea salt or Celtic sea salt, not quite there, but almost close enough. But anyways, 1 tablespoon is enough for 2 octopus. Okay, so that's basically the ingredients. Why is there sauerkraut here? Because this is a good example, right? Here's my little sauerkraut kind of going away or kind of doing its thing. Here's a good example of how salt and water helps to make the cabbage swell up in the same way that salt and vinegar is going to make your octopus not only swell up, but help to break down those fibers. So that's why if you use the salt and the red wine vinegar, your octopus should stay large, right? Because how many times have you made octopus and it just shrinks down to nothing? That salt and red vinegar combination helps with that. And also it helps to break down those fibers so that it gets more tender. You could also do this with squid. If you're going to be making like a seafood salad, a cold seafood salad with like squid, salt and red wine vinegar are your friend. Okay, so key takeaways. If you don't want to watch the rest of this video, the key takeaways are clean and wash your octopus. Put it in the pot, fill up the pot so it barely touches the top of the octopus. Put it on the heat, medium heat, let it come up to a simmer. If it starts to boil, that's fine. Just lower the heat back to like between medium and low. Make sure it's covered, obviously. Let it go for about 25 minutes. That's going to be our total cooking time. Whether there's 1 octopus in there or 10 makes no difference. 25 minutes after it's reached a simmer. And part of that process, remember, it's science and it's also technique. But part of the science of this is that if you put the octopus in there in cold water and then bring it up to temperature, the salt and the vinegar has a chance for that octopus to kind of come up to temperature, swell up first, and then the vinegar helps to break down those fibers. You're going to get some shrinkage. Don't get me wrong. Like, George would be happy. If you catch that reference, hit that like button. But you're going to get a little bit of shrinkage there, which is totally fine. What I'm trying to say is this whole process and technique should help to minimize the shrinkage and maximize the tenderness. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's just get into this. So here's my octopus. Costco started carrying them, which is friggin' awesome. I think they're about like $8 a pound. So let's go ahead and open this up. And here's our beautiful octopus. So as you can see, it was, I know this is upside down, sorry about that, but it was $7.49 a pound. They already come defrosted, so they're kind of like ready to go. When you bring them home, just right into the sink. I wouldn't even put them in the fridge because otherwise you're going to get stinky. Like this right here is just one massive bag of stinkiness. So I've done this. I'm going to do this, just kind of cleaning as I go. Otherwise this whole, I'm going to have to decontaminate this whole area, if you know what I'm talking about. But look at how beautiful these octopus are. Like, look at how gorgeous those are. The color, the texture, I can already tell. And these are raw. I'm assuming that these were probably frozen at one time after they were caught, brought to like a distribution packing center, whatever, frozen, then sent to whatever, other distribution center, then eventually here. And part of that freezing process also helps with that, minimizing the chewiness as well. It helps that freezing process helps to break down those fibers that are in there to kind of make them more tender. So what I usually do is I just put them in like a bowl, have a bowl ready with some water in it. We're going to add more water, obviously, but there you go. There's our first one. Here's going to be our second one. Whew, stinky. Okay, so here's our second one that's going in. Let's do that. Let's do this. Some of this excess water here, I just want to drain off. Make sure to run your sink, by the way, like before, during, and after, just so that you can minimize on the stinkiness. Hopefully your octopus smells, it should smell fresh. It should smell like when you go to the beach and you get that like salty sea air action going on. It should smell fresh. It should smell like somewhat, decent. You kind of get the idea. Okay, we'll leave that for later. But anyways, let's go ahead and wash. So we're just going to wash first. Look at how beautiful these are. Oh my God, these are huge. These are huge. Look at how beautiful those are. So what I do is, shut this off for a second. So I got my water here, right? And you don't have to run your water constantly, but I have my water here and I can already tell like a lot of that, packaging process stuff is in there. This is important too. This one, I guess they've already removed the beak. The octopus beak would be right there. So here's the head, right? The eyeball and the eyeball. and then here's the beak where it actually eats with. So I guess Costco has already removed that. Sometimes they don't. If it hasn't been removed, like this one's removed as well. If it hasn't been removed, it's okay. Just leave it in there and cook with it. And then when you're done cooking, you basically just squeeze like popping a pimple, literally, and that whole beak will come out and you can throw that away. So, but yeah, but basically look at how beautiful these octopus are. I mean, these are pretty big. These are pretty big octopus to begin with. So the tentacles, you get the whole concept. But yeah, what you want to do is you just want to turn the head like inside out. You know, give that a good wash or a rinse. The same here. You know, turn the head inside out. Man, I can't tell you how good these octopus, they smell good, they smell fresh and clean, but at the same time, like the color is great. Like they should be this kind of like pinkish, almost purplish kind of a color, you know, and I don't know if the camera's picking this up with the color balance and all that other stuff, but that's how your octopus should look. They should look fresh and clean. They should look like there's some life in them. You know, you kind of get the idea. The suckers are there, right? The tentacles, these long ones are great. You know, I love the tentacles. I know a lot of people just only eat the body, which is totally fine, but I love the tentacles as well. And like I said, this process of cooking them is just going to be even that much better. So now what I want to do is just turn on more water, wash my hands. Let's dump this, and then just give them one more good rinse. And the reason why I like using the bowl, let me shut this off real quick. The reason why I like using the bowl is so that you're just ensuring that you're kind of washing off the octopus, you know, and whatever might have been on there or whatever. But you know, I usually buy it and cook it the same day. I'm not going to let this sit in my fridge because, you know, it's almost like a time thing. You want to kind of buy it and cook it. So anyways, let me turn the heads back the way they're supposed to be, which is totally fine. And then now I'm going to put them in my pot. So here what I have is, this is an all-clad 6-quart, right? And it's one of those low pots. So low is also another trick or secret. If you had to use a taller pot, that's totally fine. I kind of like this method better because I feel like I'm getting more water in direct contact with the octopus ratio. And as the water goes down, eventually it starts steaming. So you get like a little steam action going on and a little boiling action going on, which is, again, technique as much as it is the ingredients, as much as it is science, right, that's going into this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the one in. There we go. Both of these should fit in here kind of nicely. Let's do something like that. Eventually what's going to happen is they are going to shrivel up and shrink a little bit, which is totally fine. Like I said, a little bit of shrinkage is what you're going to get, but we're trying to minimize the shrinkage with that salt to vinegar ratio. So here's the second one. And as you can see, I'm just at the point where I'm like maybe an inch from the top, which is perfect. This is about the perfect size pot for this. You could use an 8-quart if you wanted to or whatever, but look at that water. See, I'm taking that water now, I'm going to dump that out. If your water's kind of like yellowish amber color, that's totally fine. That's what it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a little bit of water here just to barely cover the tops of the octopus. So something like this. Almost just like another, I would say maybe like another 1/4 of an inch or so of water in there is what I'm looking for. Somewhere around like right there. So see what I'm doing here? I've got good water to octopus contact, right? But at the same time, I'm not like drowning it in water. So as this cooks, it's going to steam, and that steam is going to help to create like almost like a quasi pressure cooker, which again, the pressure, time, you kind of get the idea, will help to tenderize that octopus and those fibers and those, you know, you kind of get the idea there. So here's this. I might go like just another like maybe 1/8 of an inch of water here just to barely cover it. Okay, there we go, there we go. So yeah, if you get 1 or 2 that stick up on top, that's totally fine. But here's basically my water and my octopus. So now what I can do is, now I can start adding all the other stuff in there. Let me just give myself a quick hand wipe here. Okay, here we go. So most important thing is the salt. So like I said, I'm going to use a tablespoon of salt. These are the Ototo measuring spoons. They're basically, you know, just a little theme kind of measuring spoon. But I'm just going to kind of liberally drizzle this kind of all over, sprinkle. That's it. That's it for our salt. Don't need any more salt. Then what I've got is my lemon and lemon juice, right? So I'm going to get that pulp in there. I'm also going to get the juice in there. So that's the juice of 1 lemon, right? And as much of the pulp as I could possibly get in there. So that's in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the lemons in there as well. So this was one whole lemon. I'm actually going to put these in there. You can kind of just be as, liberal with it as you want. Here are my 2 bay leaves, right? My 2 bay leaves are going in. And then this whole smorgasbord right here is my 1/8 teaspoon of thyme, which adds like a little bit of flavoring in terms of like woodsy, alpiney, kind of that good kind of flavoring that you get in there. This is red pepper flake. Remember, there's about 12 or so flakes and seeds and all that. About 8 peppercorns. And then I've also got the zest of that lemon in there as well. So let me see. What happened to my knife? I lost my knife for a sec. Oh, here it is. Okay. By the way, Hinkle, however you pronounce that, Hinkle, whatever the heck, these are great knives. I'll put a link down below in the description or on the Amazon storefront, kind of both. So there's the thyme, and then there was the lemon zest that also went in there. So there's that part. This goes in the trash. Okay, now comes the most crucial part, is the red wine vinegar. How much do you put in there? I would say for measuring purposes, I'm going to put 1 tablespoon for every 2 octopus. You could put a little more, it can't hurt it, but I mean, I wouldn't put like a cup or anything in there. Just try to keep it to within like 1 tablespoon for every 2 octopi, right? So let's go ahead and measure that out. There's my 1 tablespoon. That's all you need. Okay, paprika, right? This is not in the traditional Sicilian recipe. This is from Burlap and Barrel, which I think makes, to me, some of the sweetest, most delicate yet complex paprika on this planet. I don't know what they're doing. It might be from where it's coming from, obviously, but I just want to put like a dash of this. I mean, we're talking like 1/64 of a teaspoon, but just a little bit, and that's all you need. Just enough to kind of give it just a touch of smokiness that will drive anybody crazy trying to figure out exactly what was in there. And that's it. That's basically what this is. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it like a quick little stir. And grab this out real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a little stir, just kind of make sure that salt kind of has a chance to dissolve in there. And as you can see, just judging, look at how, so I'm about an inch or so from the top of the pot. Let me go ahead and take this off real quick so I can show you. So give or take, I'm around an inch, maybe an inch and a half from the top of the pot. And like I said, we're not boiling this to death. We're just trying to simmer it so that as the octopus comes up to temperature, that'll help with that tenderizing process. You kind of get the idea. But at the same time, as some of this water evaporates, what's going to happen is it's going to turn into steam. That's why you want to keep the lid on it. And that steam is what's also going to help to tenderize. It's going to help to force that vinegar into the octopus to kind of help to break down those fibers to make it more tender. Tender. That's the name of the game. Okay, so this is pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. And then now let's go over to our stovetop. Okay, another big tip, trick, secret, whatever you want to call it. Use the biggest burner you have. Don't use the small one. Use the biggest burner that you have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. And then remember, right now it's off. Let's go ahead and turn it on. So I've got ignition. There we go. So what I'm looking for is, that's high, right? And this is medium. I want to be somewhere around medium. And the reason for this is I want it to come up to the point that it's just starting to boil, and then I'm going to lower it. How long does that take? It all depends on your altitude, your oven, how big your burner is, your range, your stovetop. Give or take around, I'd say between like, let's say conservatively between 6 and 10 minutes to come up to that simmer. And once it does that, I want to lower the heat. So let's fast forward. Let's say we had gone like 10 minutes and now it's just barely starting to simmer. What I want to do is go somewhere between medium and low. So that's medium, this is low. You want to be somewhere in the middle. So let's do this. Let's leave it on medium. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to come back with a whole nother video showing you the midway point in the process. And another couple of tips, tricks, or secrets are, once this comes up to a simmer, right, the lid's going to be on it, which I should do right now. Let's go ahead and get that going. Okay, so once this comes up to a simmer, I'm lowering my heat and I'm going to let it go for 25 minutes. Whether you have one octopus in there or 12 makes no difference. Once your octopi come up to that simmering point where it's just barely starting to boil, remember, reduce your heat, let it go for 25 minutes. And no matter what size vessel, cooking vessel you're using, let it go for 25 minutes. After that happens, shut off the heat and let it sit for at least an hour. It's a painful hour because you want to lift the lid, you want to try it, you want to test it, you want to cut into it. Please don't do any of that. You got to remember that octopus is one solid piece of, food. And what happens is if you want to go in there and you want to cut it to see if it's done, it's like a hole in a dam. All that juice that's in there that's keeping it tender is going to come bursting out, like as if you had popped a water balloon or you put a hole in a dam. Like all that juice, all that goodness is going to come right out of the octopus. That's what's going to make it harder, drier, more chewy in a bad way. So the trick is, after the 25 minutes of simmering, right, just barely boiling or at the lowest boil you can possibly get it to, shut off your heat and let it sit for at least 1 hour. After the hour, you can take it out, drain it, and what I would do is stay tuned for the next videos and you'll see the next step in the process. Anyways, hit that like button if you like what you're seeing. I will put links down below in the description. Also in the comment section, if you've done it this way before, let me know. Comment in the comment section. If you have any other oddball tips, tricks, things that you like to do, go ahead and throw them in the comment section. By the way, the cork thing, the whole cork thing is so ridiculous. The original story that I heard of the origin of that story was right? Meaning like years and years ago, were making octopus. Whoever they is, they were making octopus. They were so drunk drinking that the cork fell in and they thought that that's what made it tender. That's the original story of the cork and the octopus. You heard it here first from the guy who heard it from the original Sicilians that were doing this 100 years ago plus. But anyways, that's the story of the cork. So do I put a cork in here? No, there's no reason to. It absolutely does nothing to tenderize the octopus. What tenderizes the octopus is the red wine vinegar, the whole bringing it up to temperature, letting it simmer, not dropping your octopus into boiling water. Also, the salt to water ratio. 1 tablespoon of salt for every 2 octopus. Divide in half, you kind of get the idea. Conquer, divide. Veni, vidi, vinci. Anyways, I'll catch you on the next exciting video.